Can we not go anywhere without embarrassing ourselves? Hey y'all, it's Megan. If you are returning to my channel, welcome back, and if you're new, welcome aboard. So today's video is going to be a little different. I saw a video the other day. It was Danae Hayes, and she was talking about this embarrassing moment when she went to church with someone, and it was a Catholic service, and she did not grow up Catholic. And as I'm watching this, I was going, is this a thing that happens to everyone? Like, do we all at some point go to a service that is outside of our normal denomination, or not our normal congregation, and have something weird happen? Because my family has. Pretty much everyone in my family has. So that's what I'm talking about today. And if you're concerned that this is going to be like a religious video, it's not. These stories just happen to take place at church, so no worries there. Just for some context, my family was raised Southern Baptist. My parents were both raised in the Christian faith, and my grandfather was a preacher. They grew up they were much more sheltered than I was. I, because of my dad's job, have traveled and seen a lot more of the world at a younger age. So I knew a little bit more than they did, maybe by the time they were adults. But that's for context. So my dad is the first one I'm going to pick on. This entire video is just for fun. It's just to like kind of poke fun at some of my family members and like the awkward things that we've done. But my parents grew up in a very small town in South Carolina. And my dad, when he was 19, joined the Air Force. So he moves away from home. And that's the first time that he has been away from, you know, his normal everyday life. They born and raised in the same like little area. I'm talking like town of like 2,000 people, like real small. My high school was bigger than that. Anyway, so he joins the Air Force, moves away. So he's living with roommates, and he's doing basic training and all that kind of stuff, and he's living in a completely different state. And so Easter comes around, and he's like, oh, well, I'll go to service with my friend. So he and his friend are gonna go to this Easter service. His friend is Catholic, and my dad has never been to a Catholic service. That's fine, he doesn't care. It's, you know, it's an Easter service. It's pretty much gonna be generally the same. So he goes with him, and they walk in, and he's like, all right, we're gonna go to a pew, and we're gonna sit down, and we're gonna have this little Easter service, whatever. And something about my family, I don't know if this is like other people, but when you were at church, this was the stance that you adopted. If you were standing at your pew, you'd stand, and you'd have your hands on the back of the pew in front of you. And if there wasn't a pew in front of you, hands by your side. Just very, very rigid, very stiff. But you hold on to that pew. If you're praying, if you're singing a hymn, hands are right here. That's just what you do. So my dad was just expecting to fall into the pew, and they would proceed with the service, and he would stand, and then they would sit, and that was going to be it. But they got to the pew, and my dad's like following his friend, and let's just walk down this pew. All of a sudden, his friend drops, and he's like, what's that? What are we doing? So he doesn't know what's happening, but I still don't know if this is all Catholic, if this is just a thing that some people choose to do. But his friend dropped, crossed himself, and, you know, did that before he went into the pew. And my dad was not expecting it. So he's just like, what are we doing? Just being the awkward Baptist in the back, you know, just like, oh, I'm like, oh man, I wasn't even born yet. Obviously, this was when my dad was a teenager. So I couldn't really be embarrassed for him, but it was like, oh dear, oh daddy, you poor sheltered summer child. That was what my dad did. And then we went a good few years without anyone in my family having an embarrassing story at church, but it caught up to me next. And my sister to an extent, because she was there too, but it was more me. When I was younger, we always went to like Ye Old First Baptist Church or wherever we lived. But when I moved to Hawaii, we lived on base, and there wasn't really a church like that around us. So sometimes we would go to the on-base chapel, or we just kind of didn't go to church for the entire time I lived in Hawaii, to be honest. But I was staying the weekend with one of my friends one time, and their family happened to be Catholic. So they were like, oh, well, you can come with us to service tomorrow, you know, spend the night, wake up and go to service. And it was the little sister's first Holy Communion. And I was like, oh, I've never seen one of those. That'll be cool. She gets a fun little white dress. Like, this is exciting. I get to be part of this big event in her life, so that's cool. So we get up and we go to service. I've got my nice little dress on. I'm ready to go. I'm not going to embarrass the family name. I have grown up around a lot more diverse people than my parents did, so I understand more about a lot of different religions and denominations and people of no faith. I have friends who fall into all of those categories. So I feel like I'm prepared. I understand the kneeling during prayer. I understand holy water. I get the whole thing. So I get there and I'm like, I am gonna just like blend in, not draw attention to myself, not be weird. That's my goal. I'm 12. I didn't want to be weird or stand out anywhere, much less at church. We get there and we're doing the thing, we're having the ceremony, it's great. And at some point the priest comes out and he is holding little palm fronds and a bowl. And I was like, what's he doing with that? But it's Hawaii, so there's kind of palm fronds everywhere, and I was just like, okay, like he's gonna start like waving them around. I don't know. It's a party, like this is communion. I don't know. And then since we were on one of the first few rows, we were the first to receive the holy water when he started doing this with those wet palm fronds. And I was like, so I still, even being prepared, even being the cultured young lady I was, still managed to not make a scene, but I was like, what's happening? So I got to carry on my dad's legacy, my family legacy of being awkward and embarrassing in church. My mom was the last one that it caught up to. When we moved to California from Hawaii, we started going to the church, the chapel on base. So we go to these non-denominational services, which, you know, includes people from all denominations. And it was very inclusive and very just kind of like a generic service. So it was nice. And the first time that we had to take communion, my mom had a moment. You remember I said that she grew up like very Southern Baptist, like her dad was a preacher, Southern Baptist, like they didn't drink. And my mom doesn't drink now, but it's not like a moral or a religious thing. She just doesn't like it. She like really does not like the taste of alcohol. Same with me. Like I'm not opposed to alcohol. I just don't like it. I'd much rather spend my calories on cookies. I'm just saying. So anyway, we get there and we're taking communion, and y'all already know where this is going. But we're taking communion, and you know, you take the little wafer and then you take your little cup and then you pass it along. So my mom has those two things, and you know, they do the whole like, this is the body, and you know, you eat your little saltine, and then my mom takes her little cup and knocks it back, and she was not prepared. She wasn't prepared. Poor sweet mama. She has grown up with it being Welch's grape juice her entire life. It's always been just a little shot of grape juice, and we love grape juice. We always have grape juice around. A little cran grape, delicious. Zero actual nutritional value, but that's beside the point. She knocks this back and she's expecting Welch's, and that is not what she got. And so my poor mother, she didn't spit it out. She did very good, but it was like, okay, yes, take this, take in remembrance of me. Yep. She made it through though, so kudos to her. But we could have had a very embarrassing moment there, but she made it through. So that's it. I just felt like that TikTok just like awakened something in my mind. I was like, wait, does everyone have these awkward little stories? Like, if you were raised Catholic, did you ever bring a non-Catholic friend with you and have them act a fool in the corner and like not knowing what to do? Or is that just my family? Or are we just the Beverly Hillbillies coming to town? Let me know down below. And if you were the person who has gone to a different congregation, you know, a different service that you are not used to, and you had something unusual happen, let me know those down below. Let me know if I'm alone here or if this is just a thing that happens sometimes. If you didn't go to church, like, did you ever go anywhere with a friend that was like not your usual place and you had something awkward happen? Let me know down below. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, y'all.